Throughout my time at Westminster thus far, my philosophy of music education has been constantly evolving. It seems that nearly every new class I take adds more qualifications to my list of what makes an extraordinary teacher in the 21st century. With that virtually endless list in mind, I have come to the decision that my philosophy of music education is actually far broader than that. The bottom line is, in order to be an effective teacher, significant and meaningful learning must take place for every student in the classroom. As a choral music educator, I believe the most successful way to ensure that is through a wide variety of performances with great integrity, meaning the music making is honest, wholesome, and undivided. Music performance with integrity is worthwhile and therefore engaging, wonderfully diverse, has connective and communicative power, and is tailored to the specific group of young musicians you have before you. All of these objectives are best approached through the creation of a healthy balance of power in the classroom. Far too often, especially new teachers are extremely focused on their sequencing of a pre-written lesson plan, as opposed to being grounded in an awareness of the fact that teaching does not equal learning. To be effective teachers, we must constantly switch perspectives to assess student progress and ensure that their skills are improving. In Paulo Freire's criticism of the banking method, in which the teacher deposits information into the students and assumes they have learned, he explained that this way of thinking implies that students are inactive beings. In reality, students enter the classroom with a wealth of experiences, and teachers should capitalize on that knowledge through connecting it to curricular learning. Part of planning performances with integrity is acknowledging the musical experiences and skills singers have, valuing them as legitimate, and including them in the rehearsal process in meaningful ways. For example, Robert Woody asserts that music education should reflect the world in which we live. That is, it should take into account the wide variety of music which students choose to listen to each and every day. It is difficult to convince some music teachers, most of whom studied complex music of the traditional Western canon in their collegiate music programs, that pop music is worthy of study in an academic setting. But as Woody explains, pop music has very different merits than those of a Mahler symphony. One of the reasons vernacular music is vernacular is that it is accessible to all people, including its performance aspect. What an opportunity this presents to us as music educators. We know that active engagement is nearly always preferable to passivity in the music classroom, so using their vernacular as a way of engaging students from day one can pave the way for a nearly constant participation. David Williams writes that pop music, and many other types of music for that matter, is not meant to be performed by neat rows of students singing with perfect choral diction and harmony. Many music educators who have chosen to include more modern pop, hip-hop, indie, and rock music into their curriculum have attempted to mold it to fit their choral or instrumental setup. But as Woody explains, this is an inauthentic approach. Simply arranging popular music for existing traditional school ensembles does not do the music justice. There are countless ways of performing pop music authentically in the setting of a choral classroom. Students may be split into groups to arrange and perform a song of their choosing. The whole class may perform an a cappella style cover, or a student composer may write a mashup for a small group or the class to perform, just to name a few. It is important to authenticate and do justice to the last 50 years of mainstream music, while being careful not to discount the last 500 in doing so. Remaining open to students' musical preferences allows them to perform the music they are passionate about in a setting that ensures integrity. Another vital way of ensuring musical integrity is refusing to be bound by the traditional Western canon of music by including multifarious repertoire in the choral curriculum. Multicultural music is not other music. It is simply music that is just as deserving of study and performance as the traditional Western canon, which is typically deemed worthy. By excluding this music, we are denying students the opportunity to become what Bennett Reimer calls multi-musical. The United States as a whole is a wonderful mosaic of people representing global cultures, and our young musicians deserve to experience the multiplicity of musics therein. Shippers and Campbell stress the importance of teaching multicultural music through an authentic process, whether that be oral transmission, analytical, or more holistic, depending on the piece's region of origin. It is vital to help students appreciate the intrinsic value of these international musical cultures through their compositional structure, expanded vocabulary of sound, and coming to an understanding of how people in another culture express themselves musically. This, in turn, gives students the agency to seek music outside of what they are used to, giving them a more adventurous palette and an openness to diversity, which is a life skill useful long after graduation in any field they choose to pursue. Being critically aware of repertoire choices is a way of ensuring musical integrity, but it also addresses the conventional power structure which exists far too often in choral classrooms. Patricia O'Toole explains that traditional teacher-centric choral rehearsals, in which the conductor stands in front of the room and corrects problems in the music without any regard for the ideas of the singers, can lead to an atmosphere of inequality which inhibits learning. Placing more power in the hands of the students through taking advantage of their wealth of talent and experiences liberates them from authority figures and compels them to be responsible for their own education. In this way, the class can draw on their collective knowledge instead of assuming that the teacher always knows best. By acknowledging that traditional, institutionalized expertise is both necessary and valuable, but no more legitimate than students' life experiences, teachers can involve the students' prior knowledge in their learning more readily. This can be practically applied to the setting of a choral rehearsal through sectional collaborations, student repertoire choices, democratic musical decisions, and reflection. By empowering students to become active participants in their own education and valuing their individual knowledge and experiences, teachers can avoid the oppressive construct of the teacher as an all-knowing dictator. Instead, they may become partners in the learning process through the creation of an engaging environment which fosters collaboration and an appreciation for diversity of opinion. How do the best choral directors create an engaging environment? For students to remain engaged, they must believe that what they are being asked to do is worthwhile and valuable. Just as adults are frustrated by people who waste our time, young musicians are keenly aware of when their time is being wasted. We must be vigilant about this and strive to foster classrooms in which musical integrity is at the forefront, so students view their successes as meaningful and important. While David Williams would disagree with me about the inherent value of ensembles, musical performance is an outlet of emotional expression for billions of people worldwide, and children deserve to experience the connective power of collective music making. Singing in a choir or playing in a band or orchestra exposes students to the type of collaborative musical decisions which foster caring communities, supportive people, and the communication of important ideas through artistic sound. To deny students this opportunity is doing them a disservice. Focusing on music that is always performed with integrity, as I have discussed throughout this video, ensures that no matter a student's long-term destination in life, their musical experiences will be meaningful and give them skills they can apply across multiple areas of their lives. Wiggins and Epsilon discuss the intrinsic value of music, as well as what ensures it has integrity, in their article Creating in Music Learning Contexts. They posit that the most complex human ideas like love, anger, and they add music, are multidimensional experiential gestalts, meaning the concept of their whole is greater than the sum of their parts. Wiggins and Epsilon state that there are dimensions of music, for example, pitch, rhythm, melody, form, texture, and articulation, and metadimensions of music, for example, style, genre, architecture, tension and release, climax, and balance, that reflect the socio-cultural, historical, and personal contexts, and are performed and understood with a sense of ensemble and simultaneity. This is at the core of what makes the difference between ensembles that sing with great integrity and those that Williams would be correct in saying don't always provide their musicians with lifelong musical skills. We, as choral teachers and as artists, must always strive to be aware of the metadimensions of music, as well as the gestalt as a whole, in order to assist our choirs in communicating together the meaning of the high-quality repertoire we program. Wiggins and Epsilon also put forth the idea of holistically teaching music, by not always using the simpler dimensions of music as entry points, but sometimes starting with metadimensions, such as the overall architecture or the concept of tension and release. While metadimensions can sometimes be a less practical teaching method, depending on the repertoire choice, this holistic teaching can work towards large-scale musical thinking from the first rehearsal, which is an important goal to strive for. Planning performances with great integrity for all types and levels of ensembles helps expand their musical vocabulary to include not only music they already appreciate, but a diverse array of styles and sounds, allows them to be proactive in making artistic decisions while knowing their voice will be heard, and ensures they are spending rehearsal time gaining valuable skills which they will be able to employ for the rest of their lives. In this way, we can cultivate independent, competent, literate, millennial musicians who understand and appreciate a vast repertoire of music.